It's the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show. It is, what is it? It's Tuesday, June the 18th, for crying out loud. Elton John, Benny and the Jets. I haven't heard that in a while.
No.
It's Tuesday.
Always happy to hear Benny and the Jets.
Yeah.
By the way, fun fact, if you're just now joining us and hearing that song and thinking, that sounds awesome, I wonder where that gig happened. It's not live. It's faked. It's canned. Audience noise. They recorded that in a studio like people do.
Those cheaters.
At the very top of the song, you hear that one piano chord, bump, and there's a pause, and then the song kicks in.
Yeah.
And the producer, a guy with the greatest name ever, Gus Dungeon. It's actually Dudgeon, but Dungeon sounds better. Gus Dudgeon said, what's that remind you of? It's like when someone's on stage and they're about to play a song, so they hit a chord to get everyone know. Let's just, maybe we add in crowd noise. And Elton John was like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. They did it anyway. They piped in some of the Jimi Hendrix concert from Isle of Wight audience noises.
Okay.
Along with some Elton John crowd noises, bunch of whistles and, different things, hand claps and shouts. Next thing you know, they have a giant hit in the States, which nobody saw coming.
Wait, so does Benny have a mohair suit or not?
Benny has whatever you want Benny to have.
Party here. Yeah, I wonder if it would have been a hit without the crowd noise.
I don't think it would have been.
No?
I think that's what's really made it stand out. It's a cool song, but I think right away it just jumped out of the AM transistor radios we were all listening to it on.
I'm going to go back and listen to every song I think that sucks, which is mostly country, with crowd noise behind it. Maybe I'll like it.
That's not going to help.
No.
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 It's just the less heard, the better.
All right.
Is what they're saying. I'd be remiss if we didn't mention just for a moment that the NBA champion Boston Celtics took their 18th ring last night. This is exactly what the Timberwolves need to be looking at. You've got Tatum and Brown, 26 and 27. I mean, you've got this young core that have been together for 5, 6, 7 seasons now, and that's what it takes. Again, as excited as we all were about Ant, the other thing was nobody does this at 22. Tatum and Brown everyone's been like, what's taking you so long? What's taking so long? This is the way the NBA works. It takes a while. Don't lose heart, Timberwolves fans. They got a smart front office, and you can look right at what Boston has done over the last 7 seasons and say, okay, as long as we're patient and as long as we keep Anthony Edwards in Minnesota, we have a real shot at this bad boy. But I hate the Celtics. I've cheered against them my whole life, but I love this particular brand of Celtics. I mean, it's a great team, and it's really something great to see. And I think that they are, unlike the Denver Nuggets, who were downplaying the whole, we don't care if we repeat, we're just trying to be good over a long period of time. No, screw that. You've got a young team. You got everybody back. Go for the repeat. Put everything you have into it and see if you can't get yourself mentioned alongside some other former great Celtics teams. And it was a really exciting game for the parts that I was watching till I fell asleep. I made it to halftime. I saw the half-court shot at the end of the first half.
That was amazing.
And I was literally asleep 9 seconds later. It was really funny, because I was fading, and then I'm like, I can't believe that guy hit that.
Yeah, he didn't miss a whole lot after that.
No, it was over. It was done. So congrats to them, Timberwolves. It's all still ahead of you, baby. And I did fall asleep watching an NBA Finals game, which is unthinkable to the much younger Steve Gorman.
Right.
Like the idea that would be happening, and I'd be like, yeah, I'm just dozing off. Reminds me of something. Or it doesn't remind me of something. It just makes me want to mention something. There is a podcast called the Northwoods Baseball Sleep Radio Podcast. Here's the entire construct, and I am down with this. It's a podcast that is basically, it's minor league baseball games being called in the slowest cadence. It sounds like you're listening to an AM radio broadcast of 2 teams you don't care about, and it's the laziest thing ever, and it goes on for hours, and it's all fake. It's completely engineered to put you to sleep.
That's brilliant.
The way a minor league baseball broadcast would have done back in the day. Can we hear just a few seconds of this? I mean, there's a pitch from
the 2-1.
Listen to this.
Grounder to first. Haggerty has it and steps on the bag to retire Patterson.
That's going to be me tonight.
Number 1.
This is amazing. I would fall asleep right now.
Yeah, I'll put that
I
on.
really could.
That's the goal. Fall asleep to a baseball game.
Makes
That's
me want to turn
gorgeous.
off my radio.
That's great.
That's going to put me down. Right down for the count. I can listen to music to sleep on a plane. I can't listen to music to sleep if I'm laying down at home for whatever reason. But that right there, I will put on the TV to go to sleep to, just chat or a bad movie. That is my new sleep aid right there. So thank you very much.
That will conk you out. There's so many sleep aid apps out there. That's really clever.
Some crazy person who takes hours out of their life to do that.
Right.
I thank you, whoever that is. That's going to work for me just fine.
9 innings of made-up balls, strikes, and ads is enough to put you to sleep or bring you to life. I think that's the only time the only reason I turn on sports is to sleep now. But yeah, this is, I'm not saying you're wasting your life, but you're wasting your life.
Oh, come on. That's gorgeous. That's the Lord's work right there.
They have their own merchandise, Northwoods Baseball Radio Network.
I'm all over it. I'll get the pajamas and sleep in it if they offer that.
There you go. What's on YouTube?
They need a
Instagram.
plushie of a player
Oh,
Yes.
I'm down
to
with
cuddle.
that.
Sleepbaseball.com.
This Friday night, the KQ Karaoke Cruise heading off from Paddleford Boats. We're going to give away tickets at 7:50. We're going to play a game. It's going to be fun. You do not want to miss that. Oh, and the heavyweight champion of rock music all time, the all-time belt wearer, rock and roll history, has a birthday today. Hang tight.
Connect with us on the KQ Talk and Text line. 651-989-ROCK. That's 651-989-ROCK. 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show, Tuesday, June 18th. That was the Beatles band featuring a bassist and the guy singing, Paul McCartney, with the song Get Back. His current tour that's been going on for a couple years is called the Got Back Tour. He just announced a European leg starting December 4th through December 19th. There's a South American leg all this October. Paul McCartney turns 82 today. Still up there for just under 3 hours a night. I saw him 2 years ago, the week he turned 80.
Yeah.
And he played for about 2 hours and 50 minutes. And, he really just likes playing music.
No, I suppose he doesn't have to rehearse a lot anymore, does he?
Not so much.
Yes.
Doesn't have the
feel for
strength,
it,
the vocal strength he once had as far as like during the verses. But interestingly enough, he still has all the high notes. He can scream. He's got the falsetto. He can totally lay it down. But just throughout the course of the show, during like the verses, when it's the working part of the song, where it's not really laying in, where you just got to deliver. There's more backup vocals. The guys in the band are helping him out. But then when it hits the when he, it's like he paces himself the whole night. It was astounding to watch, to see him at the age of 80. And now at 82, as I said, he's still got dates going out through the rest of the year up until Christmas of this year. Happy birthday, Paul McCartney. That would be your, think about this. 1963, on this day, he turned 21. He was already really famous in England at that point. A year later, in 1964, he was worldwide famous.
Yeah.
He's never been less famous. 60 years.
It's been famous a long time.
He's been that guy for 60 years. And you can look at the 80s and go, yeah, but there was a time when he was not cool and out of fashion and all this. And
Ebony
you can say,
and Ivory.
but he was still always pumped. Like unlike, say, some of his heroes, Little Richard, Chuck Berry, they go completely off the radar for years at a time.
Yeah.
He's never not been that giant guy for 60 years.
Good
And he's
point.
handled it. As much as people, I love a lot of all different rock guys. I love the way John Lennon was just honest and real, and he showed you his teeth. McCartney just always, yep, all right, good to see you. How you doing? He's just always approached it with a little bit of a detachment. But I think but it always comes from just, it's this or a factory. You know what I mean? He still looks at it like that. Like, I get to get up and play music and write music, and I have ideas, and what a great life. And he's never, ever, it seems to me, he's never once taken that part of it for granted. And that's like it's just an amazing accomplishment, honestly.
Yeah.
Slow
Seems
and steady
genuine.
wins the race. I mean, I think it's kind of an ideal life, except for the fame part. I mean, that an average person would want to live. I wouldn't want that fame, but I would certainly, just having that disposition, I guess.
Yes. A dear friend of mine spent some time with him a few years ago promoting a project he was working on, and he did a Q&A at a performing arts high school in New York City. And he took questions for he was supposed to go there for 30 minutes. He stayed there for 90 minutes. And then he asked students to come up and jam with him. And it was just like, once he got in the mood, it was like, yeah, come on, keep coming. And the last question of the day, someone said, what's the biggest drag about being so famous? And he said, there's not one.
Yeah.
He goes, how could I possibly say that? My fame has allowed me to have this life for all these years. I get up, and he just said point blank. He goes, I have homes all over the planet. I can, if I want to see my kids, I can make that happen at any time. He goes, there's nothing I want that I can't get. So how could I possibly complain about the few things along the way that might be kind of a pain in the ass?
Great attitude.
Because he liked what he got, what he built for himself, which was being worldwide famous. I got a feeling he was always into that. The only time you ever really saw Paul McCartney out of sorts was on those documentaries, when the Beatles were breaking up, when things weren't going fab for the four. And then, of course, after the breakup, he talked about, going up to the farm wherever they're in Scotland or whatever and just drinking in bed all day long. So
it's weird to be like the Beatles. When the Beatles break up and you're 27...
Yeah. You'd almost feel like free again, wouldn't you? But no.
Well, he didn't. He was...
I think the other guys did, though, except for Ringo. I think George was happy to be out of the band. John couldn't wait to get out of the band.
Well, and here's the bummer thing, too, is he was right. Like, all the reasons the other guys were mad at him, they wanted to go with Alan Klein. I mean, Paul turned out to be right across the board. And there's nothing most people can't stand more than someone who's never wrong. That's the tough thing. And, it's fun. I remember the anthology, the Beatles anthology came out in 1995, that documentary on ABC and the box sets. I couldn't wait. My band, the Black Crowes at the time, we were making our fourth album, and every Sunday night for 3 straight weeks, we just put everything on ice. We were in a house making a record, and we would watch those documentaries. Like, oh my God, we'd gather around the TV. And even then, he was so, I think he was fake. It was stilted. It's like he's on a boat or he's by the campfire. It's like, oh God, just be like George and Ringo were just like, and Paul was just but he kind of got over that eventually. And for there was a time when he was just showbiz Paul. And that's what I mean. Like, there was a time when you're like, to me, like, as a fan, I was like, oh, I'm over him, whatever. But he was still ginormous. He's still, he was still that guy. That's the point. And now, lately, it's been years, but I mean, like, for the last 25 years, he's just completely, when I saw him a couple years ago, the shtick in between songs, it didn't feel like shtick anymore. He was just honestly talking about, the first time we were in Baltimore, but it was not like a run-of-the-mill story. It actually had a real specific angle. He talked about John and how much he loved him, and he goes, we never told each other we loved each other, and you should tell everybody you love him every day. And I mean, it was like this whole stadium's like crying, and I'm like, man, Paul really came out the other side.
Texting I love you to mom and dad.
Pretty much. It was pretty amazing. So anyway, happy birthday, Paul McCartney. He's booking dates for the holidays at 82 and a half by the time those gigs come around.
What do you get Paul McCartney for his birthday?
To Zepp's point, I think you just leave him alone. Give him 5 minutes. Yeah. Dude, you need 5? Take 5. Yeah. Go in that door. Go in that room. Shut the door. Here's some incense.
Maybe he likes socks.
What's that?
Maybe he likes socks.
He might.
New bass strings, maybe.
He could like some
perfect.
socks. Yeah, sure.
Just what I needed.
Yeah, it's just, and it's not, this is not just as a fan. This is like if, to me, it's like when Muhammad Ali would have a birthday, or Bill Russell, he's just like, this is like the greatest ever at something. It's like Stephen Hawking's birthday. You just got to look back and go, look at what this guy did. That's who McCartney is for rock and roll music. You have all the tent poles, but his is the longest. No one's had a 60-year run where they somehow still feel relevant. It makes no sense.
No.
It makes no sense at all.
He stands alone.
Not a bad bassist either, by the way.
Yeah.
Not really mentioned on the whole, who's the greatest ever bassist. It's like, yeah, he's right there. He's just inspired everybody.
Not what Quincy Jones says.
No, he does not. One of Paul McCartney's long-standing buddies from Pink Floyd, David Gilmour, the great guitarist of Pink Floyd, has got a new album out. Speaking of tentpole artists, Luck and Strange. It's an album that most of the lyrics are written by his wife, and his daughter sings on one of the songs. His son provides backup vocals. It's basically a family affair, which tells me I really don't want to hear it.
Yeah, doing something with the fam. Good for him.
Dave's
Released
a family.
that on Father's Day.
I can't bitch about a guy. A family man is a good man. As is obviously Paul McCartney. Same kind of thing. So, happy birthday, Paul. Well done, Dave, I guess. How about this? How about it's the Mike Evans Hollywood Report? Hang tight.
Connect with us on the KQ Talk and Text line. 651-989-ROCK. That's 651-989-ROCK. 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show. It is Tuesday, June the 18th, and right now it's time for the Mike Evans Hollywood Report.
Hey, good morning, Minneapolis, St. Paul. Good morning, Steve and Zepp and Tony. Good morning to everybody. Hope you're ready for today, Tuesday, the only day of the week. Marcus Theaters, any movie, any Marcus Theater, only $6 is the best deal ever. Marcus Theaters and a lot of great movies are playing. And I got a lot of movie news for you today. Winning the best movie at the Cannes Film Festival this year was the film Honora, called a comedy romance. It's about a sex worker shot in New York, also shot in Las Vegas. The release date in limited release is October 18th. It'll be released nationwide November 1. Honora, write it down, the best picture from the Cannes Film Festival. There is a release date for Francis Ford Coppola's 2-hour, 40-minute-long, $120 million sci-fi called Megalopolis. It'll be released nationwide September 27. Prediction: I think this thing's going to be a huge bomb. So Hollywood is holding its breath to see how Kevin Costner's 3-hour Western epic Horizon, an American epic, Part 1, will do this weekend when it opens. Actually opens on Thursday in most cities, including at Marcus Theaters. Costner haters are quick to point out that the pre-sales are horrible. Well, that may be true. However, make no mistake, in my opinion, I loved it. This is an epic, great movie. But the haters in Hollywood and the 3-hour length may hurt it. The haters point out that Kevin Costner's 1994 Western Wyatt Earp was also a box office flop. Here's an interesting sidebar. I love the movie Wyatt Earp. And did you know that Wyatt Earp, the old cowboy sheriff, he actually died in 1929 in Los Angeles, right after retiring as an LAPD cop. Old Wyatt Earp was 81 years old when he expired. TV and news and update. I may have been a little rough on the CBS show Elsbeth. I called it silly, corny, little lame. Well, Elsbeth has been renewed for a second season, and while it's still a little corny and the writing a little weak and predictable, I watched a couple more episodes. Going to tweak it a little bit. It's not as bad as I had originally thought. I mean, certainly not as bad as some of the things that are out there. I mean, compared to junk like the second season renewal of the sequel of Frasier, which is horrible. If you haven't watched Elsbeth, give it a chance. It's on CBS. More TV news. Here are the 5 most watched television shows this past week. Number 5, NBC Nightly News with Lester Holt. Number 4, America's Got Talent. Number 3, NBA Finals post-game show. Number 2, ABC Nightly News with David Muir. Number 1, the NBA Finals. And by the way, the best ratings for the Stanley Cup Finals could only come in at number 11. And a very sad note to report, Jack Nicholson, one of my favorite actors, 87 years old, been suffering from dementia. I hear is not doing well at all. Hey, have a great day, Minneapolis, St. Paul. We'll do it again tomorrow. Mike Evans. See ya.
There's your Mike Evans Hollywood Report for Tuesday, June 18th. How about this? How about right now we take a look back? Oh, I'll teach you something. On this day in 2000, a day that I remember quite well, Tiger Woods just obliterated the U.S. Open field at Pebble Beach. He had 4 birdies on the back 9 on Sunday. He won by 15 strokes at the U.S. Open at Pebble Beach, one of the harder courses. He was a 12 under par for the weekend.
Back when you didn't have to watch golf on Sunday, Tiger had it wrapped up.
Pretty much. With every passing year, that's exactly the point, Zeb. It's more and more clear that we've already seen the most dominant golfer that we will ever see. No one is ever going to hold court like Tiger did for that decade. So. For no reason, if for no other reason than he grew the game so much worldwide. decide that there's so many young tigers that want to be him, they're going to keep each other from, no one's going to arise to the top of the table and stay there because there's just too many young people trying to be like him now. Pretty astounding.
It's the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS. Zep, Tony, and Steve Gorman are the KQ Morning Show. 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show. It's Tuesday, June the 18th. Happy birthday to Paul McCartney. 1 hour from right now, we're going to give away tickets to the KQ Karaoke Cruise. We're going to play a game called Give Me 2 Seconds, which is always a lot of fun. So 1 hour from now, you want to be right here, hopefully on hold, getting ready to compete for tickets.
Yeah,
just suggesting. I mean, it's just, as long as I got the mic on, I'm going to suggest you be here with us at 7:50. Remember Lorena Bobbitt? Remember that heartwarming story of the woman who chopped her husband's Schwartz off?
That's right.
It was recovered, it was replaced, and it led to him having a bizarre career, to say the very least.
Yeah, Frankenporn. Yeah, he did.
Yeah, pretty much.
She whipped it out along the side of the road as she was dashing away, but they sewed that sucker back on.
It's the kind of story that, it doesn't happen very often, but when it does, it makes headlines.
Every time.
And now, yet again, a woman has, she's gone right to the mat. In Colorado, a woman named Shenting Guo is accused of cutting off her boyfriend's penis. This is following an argument about whether or not he was the father of her soon-to-be-delivered child. This woman is pregnant.
All right.
She and her boyfriend are having an argument. I'm not sure if he was suggesting he was or wasn't, but there was an argument. There was a difference of opinion, apparently. She got pretty upset about this. This was last month. She called 911 to say, "Hey, listen, this happened. I got
hope
a
it was
knife.
as nonchalant as that.
I got a knife. We were having an argument. She said to the police, I stabbed my boyfriend in the leg."
Yeah.
She goes, "I was just so angry that I couldn't help but stab him. I wasn't trying to hurt him badly. I wasn't trying to kill him." And then she went on to say, I did cut off his penis, but here's the thing. He didn't seem like he was in a lot of pain. So she went to the nearby city market. That's a store, like a grocery store.
Sure.
And she got some beer, some rubbing alcohol, and some antibiotics that she was able to score, and then went back home.
Some gauze, perhaps?
Didn't think to get any gauze or bandages. None of those.
An old T-shirt will do if you've got the rubbing alcohol.
Old Tylenol?
She then went on to say she gave him ibuprofen.
Oh,
okay.
Actually, so not acetaminophen, but ibuprofen.
Yeah.
She gave him some ibuprofen, some water, and some greens. I don't know if that's actual leafy greens or if it's a powder you add to water for some vitamins, or to yours maybe it's just some weed. But then she said, his eyes quickly lost life. Yeah, he died.
Yeah, it turns out he was in pain. That's called shock. No. Secondly, Lorena Bobbitt, I believe, the details are a little murky. It's been decades, but didn't she cut off John Bobbitt's wiener in his sleep?
Yes.
As he was sleeping, right?
I believe so.
He was on the couch.
These two were arguing. I'm trying to now, I've dated some real ninjas. But if you can cut my wiener off while I'm awake and we're arguing, because I'm in the on-guard position always, at least for a nut shot.
This is not her first time with a knife in her hands, is what I'm suggesting.
Right. But wow, what a...
So she's carrying a child, and she's now carrying a healthy jail sentence is probably right around the corner from her.
Sorry to hear that.
She's being held with a $1 million cash bond. This is just one of those things I see, and I just go, man, there's nothing fun about that story. There's nothing at all fun. And then I go, oh wait, well it is Tuesday, and you know what Tuesday is around here? It's time to share some unfun facts on this, the runt day of the week.
Oh, I was just trying to get my facts straight. Unfun.
Unfun.
Not fun.
Not fun, not fun.
Entirely unfun.
The KQ Morning Show presents
Unfun.
Facts.
Let's begin, shall we? Shall we?
Oh, Tuesday. What are you even here for, Tuesday? You mean nothing. You know what I mean? There's no thank God it's Tuesday vibe out there. It's not hump day.
I had tacos, I can get 2 tacos any damn day I want.
You know what? Tacos are available 7 days a week.
Yeah, I get 3 on Wednesdays.
See? So let's talk about some unfun facts for Tuesday. Don Winfield, a man I've never heard of until right now. You'll never forget him because he has a world record. The number is 6,504.
Beers drank.
Nope.
Oh.
Moles on his body.
Nope.
Sexual conquests.
Kidney stones passed.
No.
God almighty.
Oh,
Passed. Not removed. Literally passed through.
Yeah.
he's like a machine gun.
You know how
6,504. His urethra is the size of a Hot Wheel track. I hope.
you know how someone had kidney stones, right? If you meet them, say kidney stones and watch their facial expressions.
They wince every time.
Yeah, right. They'll give you like that orgasm face, but in a bad way. Like, oh, no. And he had, I'm sorry, hit me one more time. That sounded like 4 figures.
It was 6,504 past kidney stones.
Dude, drink some water.
Every now and again, mix in some water.
Yeah, just saying the calcium buildup. It's a little or cut back on the milk, or I don't know what's going on there, man.
Or just remove your own kidneys with a scalpel and just be done with it.
Holy!
I'd place myself into a bathtub in the French Quarter and wake up dead. I mean, you know, like some horror film. They took my kidney. I'd take my own kidney.
I listened to an argument between a young man and a young lady over which was worse, a migraine or kidney stones, and I came to the conclusion that I don't want a migraine or kidney stones.
No, you're right about. I've never, knocking on wood, never passed a kidney stone. Anybody that I know who has, it's true. There's not a moment where they go, God, I tell you, there's no fake laugh. It's immediately like discussing the time that you watched someone drown. It's like the look in their eye. It's always far away and horrifying.
I'm gonna need some of those greens.
Got to get some of those greens. The largest kidney stone ever removed from a human man.
What?
Weighed 4.4 pounds.
What?
It was 20 centimeters long. It was removed. It did not pass.
Yeah, it didn't go out the hose.
Out of it.
Right. Yeah.
I found this frickin' volleyball in your urethra.
A good friend of mine has passed one kidney stone in his life, and it happened at 30,000 feet.
Oh, no.
It's just an absolute nightmare. So that's an unfun fact,
Yeah, that's not fun at all.
There's nothing fun about what happened in Chernobyl in 1986, the nuclear power plant in what is now Ukraine. Back then, it was just the Soviet Union.
Did you watch that series on Netflix?
Incredible.
Phenomenal.
The HBO or the Netflix?
Oh, was it HBO? My memory.
Yeah, not the documentary, but the dramatization.
The dramatization.
Amazing.
Yeah,
one of the greatest things ever.
Yep.
Nothing real fun about that, but here's something even more unfun than most. The firefighters who originally responded, all of whom were then taken to Moscow and then died from radiation poisoning, they were attempting to give these gentlemen morphine for the pain, but they couldn't because their veins were melting.
Oh, my God.
That's not fun.
Woo!
That's not fun at all.
No.
Veins melt.
Can you just...
Apparently so.
Yeah, but then what have you... I see you have a pistol there with you. Let's try that. I mean, you're done, right? I mean, that's the end. Let's go ahead.
That's pretty much it. Let's see if there's anything else we can find that's unfun for Tuesday.
We're
how about this?
Here.
First moonshot. What a great day.
Yeah.
July, 21st, 1969.
All right.
I remember it. One of my earliest memories. Just before I turned 4, my brothers with the binoculars looking at the moon and not allowing me to see. And they're literally going, he's waving. He's waving. And I'm going, let me see the astronauts. And they were just torturing me. Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin, had they become stuck on the moon, there was a policy for that. The official policy was, we're going to cut communication and they'll just suffocate eventually, and they'll be in silence. Nixon had a speech written and ready to go in case that had happened. It was written ahead of time. It's a contingency plan. You got to think of these things.
They mentioned that to him just as they slammed the door shut. Oh, by the way, and then bang, So, they knew they were getting into it. When you watch a documentary on something like that, you realize that about half of it was shooting from the hip. A lot of science went into it, of course, a lot of calculations, but it was a moon race. We were kind of rushing through things. And, of course, the first time for a lot of this stuff. And so I remember just the landing, just when we're trying to get the Eagle capsule onto the moon's surface. It was basically like, me trying to do that little maneuver where you parallel park after going 50 miles an hour and just slam the brakes and
pretty much
put her in there.
Yeah, it was a lot of
crazy.
science and a lot of duct tape and a lot of hope.
Yeah. And just
by the way, what I know about Buzz Aldrin, I have a feeling he was like, so remember, if this goes sideways, cut off communication. We don't want to give the Russians any time to gloat. We'll take it like men.
Oh,
He
God.
didn't care.
Damn.
Meerkats. You know what meerkats are?
Yeah, sure.
Adorable little
They're cute.
fellas.
Well, Lion King.
They're just
Taylor
so cute.
came of age during the Lion King. There was the meerkat and that little pig.
There was a show called Meerkat Manor. I mean,
Oh,
they're
yeah.
just adorable. But here's something. They are special because more than any other species on the planet, they kill each other with greater frequency. Meerkats
More than
love
humans?
to kill meerkats, more so than humans.
Wow.
Yeah, percentage-wise, they really, really love to kill each other.
I mean, wow, I've got some mad respect for meerkats. They have street cred.
There's nothing fun about meerkats. Don't think there is. And speaking of adorable little animals, I mean, a lot of people love goats. Medieval Europe, goats were used in torture.
Uh-oh.
Yep. The torturer would take his victim, he would soak their feet in salt or sugar water, and it would get a goat to start licking the feet.
What?
Now, initially that felt kind of good.
Yeah,
that kind of
tickles.
tickles.
Yeah.
But then the goats have a very coarse tongue.
Yeah.
They keep on licking, and eventually it starts to hurt a little bit. The feet begin to blister and become raw, and eventually, as the flesh begins to tear away, then the goats get really excited, and they lick with more and more and more intensity, and they basically just lick away your feet.
Oh, it peels
What
away.
the
Yeah, peels away.
frickin' what was
You know
going
what?
on? The medieval ages.
There's nothing fun about it.
No, every week we do Unfun Facts.
Yeah.
It's something from the medieval. And what was terror? Those people were effed.
They were. You know what? They didn't have TV. They didn't have radio. They just had a bunch of stones. They're like, man, we got to do something.
God for technology, I guess, for the internet, or we'd be, Didn't the goats stop with the whole sugar water's gone? Now I'm down to the meat.
No,
It's getting a little tangy.
They get on a roll. You know what I
All
mean?
right,
They get on a
sure.
roll. How about this? Here's an unfun fact. If you contract rabies, it can, in fact, lay dormant in your body for years. This has happened. One day, you will wake up with a headache, and by then, it's already too late. If it lies dormant, it will eventually open up. But by the point you recognize it, you've got a headache, you will slowly kind of lose your mind. You will grow an erratic fear of water. You will lose the ability to swallow, and you will die.
I didn't even know that with rabies. That you.
Yeah, for my money, if I get rabies, I want to know about it right away.
Yeah, right. Immediately, let's get the big needle out. If that's wasn't just an old urban myth, something that the mom tried to scare us with to keep us away from wild animals. But yeah, let's go ahead and do the treatment anyway. Dormant for years.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Yep.
that's,
Okay, how about this one? Okay, this is an unfun fact, but we can kind of appreciate the effort if nothing else. An aeronautical engineer in 1973 named Harry Smolinski was obsessed with building a flying car.
I like that name.
Smolinski?
Smolinski.
What's Smolinski doing? He's trying to build that flying car again.
Oh, Smolinski.
He constructed a prototype out of a Cessna twin-engine plane, somehow crossed it up with a Ford Pinto.
I like him. Hold my beer.
Yeah, first time ever. He not only did he take his invention out for its first ever test flight, he brought along a friend.
Some ignorant buddy.
Somebody to hold your beer.
Yeah, so the ultimate report on the double fatality Ford Pinto Cessna crash was
predictable.
bad welding and loose parts.
Frickin' Smolinski.
Knew enough to get a Ford Pinto airborne, but didn't know enough to just tighten down all the bolts.
Shouldn't be laughing at that. It does remind me, though, of that Christmas some 15 years ago when Dad said, I'm buying myself a plane. We're like, Dad, you're going to buy yourself a plane. Yeah, I don't even need a pilot's license. All right, there's the second red flag,
Oh,
Dad.
boy.
And the third red flag was, it was a kit. He was going to build it. I'm like, okay, Dad, you're not building. Mom, Dad, can we stop Dad from buying a plane that he's going to build and then teach himself how to fly without a pilot's license? I think we distracted him with a drone. We got him a drone for Christmas. We're like, here, you can just fly this,
Yeah, sure.
and take videos of the deer running around out there if you want.
Here's our final unfun fact for the day. Refrigerator doors are magnetic now. for good reason. Because you can if you find yourself inside a refrigerator, you can just push the door open. Yeah. Before 1956, that was not true. You could only open a refrigerator door from the outside. Yeah. And way too many kids used to play in the refrigerator. Yeah. Hey, let's go play in that thing I can't open if I go in there.
Yeah, it's it reminds me of a coffin. Let's climb in.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it too often was. Yeah, that was.
So, but hey, after 1956, just so remember, if you're looking at an old house, you're like, that's a cool old appliance. Make sure it's from 1956 forward. Yeah, right. How about that? There's a nice little listing of unfun facts, wouldn't you say?
That was daunting.
It's delightful.
It was delightful. I tell you what, man, you could do a lot worse for a Tuesday. You know what? You could do a lot better. Here's something that's completely fun. There's no downside to the fact that parrots literally parrot human language, especially parrots who just curse up a blue streak. Nothing better under the sun. Hang tight.
Connect with us on the KQ Talk and Text line. 651-989-ROCK. That's 651-989-ROCK. 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show. It is Tuesday, June the 18th. I got a dog named Chauncey Gorman. He's sitting right here at my feet. He's here most days with me. I got a cat named Milo. I've had pets my whole life. I've had dogs and I've had cats. Had a bird once as a kid. It fell out of a nest. I tried to rehab it. It died. I cried. But that's it, really. Just dogs and cats. Never in a million years have I ever thought, I'd like a bird. I think I want a bird in the house. It never occurred to me.
I wanted to get a toucan at one time.
A toucan would be cool.
I looked into it, but you have to get a cage that has about 6 feet of clearance because they projectile poop.
Oh, they projectile poop. Mm-hmm. That's a fun feature of the toucan. You never see that in the Fruit Loops commercials.
No, they suppress that.
No, but if you eat enough Fruit Loops,
you will also projectile poop.
You can certainly find yourself doing that. But a parrot, you see parrots sometimes because I always just think that sucker's going to grab my finger with his beak and he's going to rip it off. That's what scares me about parrots. But now, for the first time ever, I'm thinking to myself, kind of might want to get a parrot. And not just any parrot, but a specific parrot. But I'm going to have to go to Niagara Falls to find him. The Niagara SPCA has a post up that says the following. It's not every day we receive a parrot as a surrender. And certainly not a potty-mouthed parrot named Pepper.
Yeah.
Bringing home a cursing conure might seem like a fun idea until Pepper offends Grandma's Tuesday night knitting group. Literally. On the bright side, again, I'm reading, this is their Facebook post.
The creative writing's bugging me.
On the bright side, if you want to keep unannounced company from dropping in, adopt Pepper. They'll think twice about being cussed out by your new foul-mouthed feathered friend. If you think his feathers are colorful, you should hear his language. Forget, does Polly want a cracker? Does Pepper want to kick your ass is the real question.
All right.
Somebody get this guy a bar of soap or a humor-loving home. They are literally putting this parrot as a white-fronted Amazon, and it says, and yes, he actually swears. Serious inquiries only. Must have bird experience and appropriate housing.
Hell, someone else didn't want him. Why wouldn't you?
You taught him to cuss, and then you decided you had enough cussing.
Yeah, right. Oh, that parrot right there. That was a woman who taught her parrot to swear at her ex-husband and his new girlfriend.
Seriously?
Suck my beak!
Suck my beak. Yeah, that's a foul-mouthed parrot. Oh, yeah. That it's going to continue to mimic, right? They continue to learn. Mm-hmm. I don't know if I want a parrot learning what it is I'm muttering to myself. Here's a woman whose parrot started imitating her having sex when friends would come over.
Oh, boy.
There you are. Mom and Dad are over.
No.
Yeah. Bird's having a good time.
Oh, Polly.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I take it back.
I mean, they just be a handful, wouldn't they? And I don't think you can. Can you muzzle a bird? I'm thinking of an Airbnb in San Diego I stayed at one time, and there was a bird kitty corner in this Airbnb compound setup that was up all night long. very loud parrot, and me without a 410.
That's not good. That's not good at all.
No, it's fairly annoying, but they are fascinating birds.
I read something recently about pigeons, and it made me rethink pigeons completely. Because somebody was there was a, you see a pigeon, especially in an urban area. You're in a city, and you're just like, they're just winged rats. How many times have you heard people say that? They just bother you. You sit on a bench, and pigeons all come around.
Yeah.
And somebody said, hey, the problem was we domesticated pigeons. They're like that because we did this to them.
Yeah.
They were more than pets. They carried messages. People raised pigeons. They had spoiled lives for centuries as honored human companions.
Yeah.
And then we got telephones, and we no longer needed them.
The least we could have done was wipe them out and shot them all.
Yeah.
And
so we just threw them away. And so this species has been fully domesticated for centuries, and then suddenly we didn't need them anymore. So they have no survival instincts. They just come to humans still like, hey, can you feed me? Can you help me out? And I read that, and I was like, oh, these poor little bastards. And then I thought about how gross they are, and I was like, well, I don't care that much.
Well, they're all the rage in commercials now. I've watched, like I mentioned one night, I'm like, there are a lot of pigeons in commercials, and one commercial break, 3 different pigeon commercials.
Really?
Google it once. Just Google pigeon in commercials, and they're running right now. Pigeons are all the
I was
rage.
just watching, there was some Netflix show out right now. What you mentioned it, Zepp. What is it? The Gentleman. And there's a crime boss, and he has carrier pigeons. And it's just something about pigeons where I think you got to have an English accent. No, look, he's going to take this message across town, isn't he? And it makes sense to me. When I think about Mike Tyson with his pigeons, that doesn't add up. I never quite got it.
He had the old, he'd do the pigeon cooing thing.
Yeah, it's just me. Call me crazy.
We kind of got into that.
But everything in life is timing. You want a parrot, you got to wait, and then the right one comes up, and maybe it's time. But no, I could never deal with. I've often thought like there's going to be a time when I just don't want any pets. And I love our pets.
Yeah.
My God, Chauncey, look at him. He's he's like an appendage. I don't know what my life will be like without him. But do I want to replace him? No, I don't think so, man. You just hit a point where you're like, no, really. Like the kids, like get your own. I'll come visit. I'll scratch on the weekends. I just want to sleep through the night once.
It always bugs me when people's pets pass and then they name the new pet the same name. Like Chauncey, too.
Oh, no.
Yeah, we did have that with a hunting dog once because it died so young as a pup, only a couple of weeks in.
Sure.
So Dad got another one, and it was just like, I'm just going to, Babe was the name, because Dad comes up with, it's either Duke or Babe.
Duke or Babe?
Duke or Babe. So it's a female, so let me guess, Babe. And then it was like Babe 2, and that was the third Babe. But it's a whole different dog.
We had a dog named Cubby. I had a lamb. My little stuffed sleeping animal, my little stuffed whatever, was a little lamb named Cubby. And then we got a puppy when I was probably 6. And we named it Cubby. Like, I was like, well, we'll name Cubby. And they were like, okay. Well, Cubby tried to kill me, and so we had to get rid of Cubby. It didn't try to kill me, but it did drag me by the ankle of my jeans. It literally dragged me down our front yard hill into the street. I was powerless to stop
That's murderous intent.
It was murderous intent. Wow. And then it chewed a leg off a dining room chair, and that's what really did it. It was like, no, Steven's okay, but the chair, we can't forgive this. We got rid of Cubby. Cubby went away to a farm, in quotes.
Yeah.
And then we got Cubby 2. And so it was like one word, Cubby 2. And so Cubby 2 came in, and Cubby 2 made it to be about 2, and then she bit my good friend's nose.
Oh.
Like, literally, he was just kneeling down, and Cubby 2 was like a collie German Shepherd mix. Mm-hmm. So it looked like a German Shepherd that was solid white with a collie's coat. It was a really bizarre mix. Yeah. And Cubby 2, I should say, was licking my buddy Jimmy's face, just licking his face, and then just was like, I'm going to just bite that kid's nose off right now. And damn near did. Didn't bite it off, but punctured through the nostril. It was bad. And because it was the 70s, there was no lawsuit. There was just a couple stitches, and the Gormans apologized.
Yeah, and the dogs got to...
And Cubby 2 also went to a farm. Never knew where this farm was, but back in the day, boy, if you had a dog you didn't like anymore, there was a farm.
There's where they're running free and living forever.
Man, I tell you. So as I said, it's all about timing. You got to be at the right place. Everything in life is timing, especially comedy. There is a comedian who has got a Netflix special right now. His name is Ryan Goodcase. I've never heard of this guy before, but he's got a pretty great bit really quickly about timing, and we thought it was worth a share.
Yeah, exactly. So I just want to mention that he starts by having the audience count down from 60 seconds in their head backwards, all right?
Straight how good my timing is with this next joke. It's going to be exactly 60 seconds long. I need somebody's help. What I want you to do is to count backwards in your head from 60 to 0, and when I point at you, yell out what number you're on. So I was talking to my dad recently, and my dad's a pretty old guy. He was born in like 1956. So I don't know how old that makes him, but it's sure older than 48. Right, guys? So anyways, I was trying to brag to him one day. I don't know how it comes up, but he goes, Ryan, how many women did you sleep with in college? And I was like, I don't know, probably like 40. Which is a total lie. It's a total lie. Like, if I was being honest with him and I counted all the women I've ever slept with throughout my entire life, the number would probably be closer to 20. I did not point yet. Two. Hey, right in the bottom of the lap.
There you go.
Every time he points, a number is called out from the countdown. It makes sense.
Yeah, that was all right. Better in rehearsal.
Better in rehearsal. I like it.
Exactly.
We talked a little earlier in the show about a woman in Colorado who was having a fight with her boyfriend over whether or not he was the father of her soon-to-be-born child. Mm-hmm. She took out a knife. She removed his penis from his body. She removed his life as well. The man died. It was a pretty brutal story. Not quite that bad, but equally as... Well, I guess it's not equal anything, but I'm sorry. As a head scratcher, another head scratcher from the world of romance. A woman in Iowa. Well, I'm not going to call her a woman. She's 18. A kid in Iowa was about to go on a date. She had been texting with someone via a dating app for a few days. They're getting to know each other. They agree to meet. As the dude is on his way to meet her, she decides, I'm a little nervous. I don't want to meet up with him after all. And she panics. She doesn't know what to do. It doesn't occur to her to say, hey, on second thought, I don't want to see you in person. So instead what she does is she calls 911 and she tells the 911 operator, my abusive ex-boyfriend is outside and he just threatened to hit, punch, kick, and stab me. I'm pregnant with his child and he came over here to try to, literally...
that old excuse.
Okay.
So the dude shows up. She calls 911. Well, about a minute later, dude shows up, and and she won't see him. So he's just walking away to his car when the cops show up.
Easy come, easy go.
They show up. They're like they detain him immediately.
Yeah.
And then he's like, what are you talking about? He shows them his phone. Here's all the messages from 3 days of texting.
Yeah.
She says, I'm sorry. Finally, they press her. She's like, I just got cold feet. I just didn't really want to meet him anymore. The charges, two misdemeanor charges for placing a false 911 call and placing a false report.
Dude dodged a huge bullet there.
Can you imagine the relief he feels knowing that he didn't even get one date in? That's better than going on a terrible date. I'd rather be rather be in the cuffs than released with a slap on the back and a hearty "are bad" than sit through a bad date.
Even if they had tased him, even if there was enough of a misunderstanding and you panicked and you ran or something and you got tased, it would still be better than having met that woman had she opened the door.
That's quite the timing. I remember there was a situation in the Gorman family ran a restaurant for a brief period of time, a very misguided effort on my dad's part. in the summer of 1982. And it's a really long story. Won't bore you with the details. But one day, as was the case, we had a car towed out of our parking lot. We closed between lunch and dinner, and there was a car parked there during the day when no one's supposed to be there. Okay. And we figured it was probably a trouble because it was not just parked in the parking lot. It had run into a tree at the corner of the parking lot. That's where it came to rest.
Okay.
So our chef just called the tow service. He goes, come get this car out of our parking lot. Dude shows up a few minutes later, opens the back door to the kitchen, and he goes, "Did you tow my car?" And the chef goes, "I sure did." And he goes, "Where is it?" The chef goes, "It's at Jones Brothers." And the guy, he's not a kid, the guy looks at the chef and goes, "I'm going to go to Jones Brothers, I'm going to get my car, I'm going to come back, and I'm going to kill you."
Oh, well.
And he turned around and walked out of the kitchen. And I'm 16, and I'm like, is that normal? And the chef goes, "I went to high school with that guy. He's been in prison for as long as I can remember.
Okay.
This is trouble. He's real. That's a real menace." Well, the dude went to the wrecker service to retrieve his car. And when he got there, he said, "You have my car," got his car back, and he looked at the guy and said, "I'm going back to the restaurant to kill that chef now."
All right. Yeah.
And so hang with me. There's a connection here. The guy at the wrecker service then picked up 911 and immediately called and said, "There's a guy going over to this restaurant to kill somebody." So he did come back, and he did try to kill our chef, and I saw the whole thing. And 9 months later, there was an attempted murder trial where I was the key witness. But the good news was, as it was happening, the cops already arrived because they'd already been called.
Yeah.
And this guy was like some known local dude. They all knew his name. Everybody was like, "Oh, he's back. Mark Rogers. They all freaked out. And so as it was happening, the cops were already on the scene, and it was just one of those things. Totally bizarre, but occasionally, the idea of calling 911, I don't even know where I was going with this. Something about the cops showing up.
Loose lips sink ships.
I guess that's what it was. Loose lips sink ships. That was one of the stranger things. See, I get into that story, and then I lose my train of thought because it was still so mind-blowingly traumatic.
What was his weapon of choice?
A tire iron.
That would do it.
I mean,
our kitchen, a restaurant kitchen in a small town, turned into a scene from a Stephen King movie. Seriously.
That's amazing.
The whole story cannot be told on air. Just because I don't have 96 minutes and I don't want to cry.
This is why ex-cons don't get hired.
That's right. It was
one or
trouble.
two bad eggs.
It was one of those
amongst
things.
the bad eggs.
Tire iron versus frying pan.
Yeah.
I wish. Tire iron versus a large pan of twice-baked potatoes. As it turned out.
Oh, that sounds good.
Getting those bad boys into the walk-in at the wrong time. It was rough. It was pretty brutal, let me tell you. But thankfully somebody, I don't see, that's what happens sometimes. You just get yapping, and then I'm like, I have no idea how I was supposed to connect all these disparate thoughts. That's all right.
It's the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS. Zep, Tony, and Steve Gorman are the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show. It is Tuesday, June 18th. Paul McCartney is 82 years old today. He will be on the road throughout the rest of the year, still performing on the Got Back tour. My man is 82. He is doing almost 3 hours a show. It's good to be Paul.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a shame when elderly people have to work just to make ends meet.
It's crazy,
that late
isn't
in
it?
life. I know. There's something wrong with the system.
If you saw the Get Back documentary, not Got Back, but Get Back documentary, the Peter Jackson film from a few years ago, there's that moment when George Harrison goes, "Did you hear Jimmy Page has a new band?" Yeah. January of '69, they're discussing, they all knew Jimmy as a session guy in town, a hot, former member of the Yardbirds and a producer. And they're discussing, it's interesting to see the Beatles on their last legs discussing this new thing that Jimmy Page has.
Which would be the next big thing.
That would be the next big thing. It was, the Beatles had the 60s and Led Zeppelin had the 70s. It would be an easy way to just sort of contextualize the experience of those two groups. But it's just funny to think about what the Beatles think of that.
Right.
Of course, they thought, yeah, that's pretty awesome. I mean, game recognizes game.
Yeah.
Make no mistake about it. So from the Immigrant Song to my thoughts are, is there a better karaoke song than the Immigrant Song? Come on, the screaming, the wailing
Not here in
banshee
Minnesota.
of a Robert Plant.
I mean, yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
even in School of Rock, that worked.
There was a time when I could have tried it. I used to have the high reg. I used to be able to get way up there, man. Yeah. I had to scream to get it, but I could make it happen.
Connect with us on the KQ Talk and Text line, 651-989-ROCK. That's 651-989-ROCK. 92 KQRS.
I remember seeing Devo on Saturday Night Live, Play Satisfaction, 78, 79.
Yeah, changed everything.
Yeah, I mean, it really was one of those. I was at my buddy Brooks' house. We were in his basement watching SNL, as we would do, and I just stared at the TV, and I remember thinking, like, I'm a little confused.
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure what this is, but I'm in. I am so on top of this.
Yeah, you knew it was significant.
I missed that episode, so nothing's changed for me.
So good.
It's been great ever since. I'm sorry you've been over there in that dark room.
Yeah, Arrested Development.
Devo, obviously, it's a weird story of how they made it to Saturday Night Live. They were not a big band. They were not the kind of band that was normally a part of that. Their biggest fan was Neil Young.
Of all people.
Neil Young and his manager, Elliot, they loved Devo. And Neil was booked to do SNL, I think, the week before. And somehow he leveraged it. He said to Lorne Michaels, actually, I'll do it only if you put Devo on after me. And the Lorne Michaels was like, I'm sorry, what? Who? And that's how Devo ended up getting that exposure.
Really?
Neil stepped up to bat for him.
How about that? That was his bargaining chip.
That was it. That's pretty good. It's the lesson, as always. Get Neil Young on your side.
Wow.
Going to see Neil Young and Crazy Horse this summer. I'm very excited about it. Late July. Going to take in a Crazy Horse gig.
Oh, that'll be great.
I'm looking very forward to it. Zepp, I need to ask you a question, my friend, because I saw an article this morning, and of course my thoughts race to you, and this is the kind of thing I have thought about. We hear regularly about people, you're driving along the road, you're minding your own business, and then boom, here comes a deer, and one thing leads to another, and you get a problem.
Yeah.
What if you're on a motorcycle? I mean, I'm sure you're familiar with guys on two wheels and deer coming together.
Oh, yeah. I know far too many people. Just spoke with a good friend the other day who had a really tough deer accident some years ago. He'll never recover from.
Because I just saw a story in Stanford Township, which I don't know where that is. I'd never heard of it.
Yeah.
There was a deer. Apparently, it's more like a deer comes running right out of the wood line. The deer T-boned the motorcycle, not the other way around.
That often happens.
That often happens.
Oh, yeah. In fact, I had a deer hit my mirror, spun my mirror around. You know, the one on the handlebar right there by the throttle grip.
What a vain deer.
Yeah, what a vain deer. Came out, and just the nose of it hit the brakes. I saw the deer hit the brakes. I kind of closed my eyes and thought, I hope this doesn't hurt. I hope I'm not paralyzed. I hope it at least kills me or whatever. And then all of a sudden, nothing happened. And I went, wait, what happened to the frickin' deer? I did see it lock up its legs, but it was going to hit me. It was over. Ooh. It was done. It was in the middle of the night. Mm-hmm. And coming up a hill, heading back to Prior Lake there. And I thought, what in the frickin'... Did I dream that? That's the weirdest thing ever. I thought that thing was on a collision course. How did it not hit me? As I parked my bike, I look at my side view mirror there, and it spun all the way in. And I thought that deer had to frickin' hit that mirror with its nose, just graze it. Well, if you hit the mirror, it came literally inches from taking me off that bike. So, there's not much you can do. I don't know what the evasive maneuver is. Stay away from deer.
Are these guys? Are they attracted to the motorcycles? Is it anything like that?
Turns out that they have a little, very small pea-sized brain and are incapable of any thought. That's the old deer in the headlights thing, and they're just stupid. They'll run out in front of cars. They'll run out in front of motorcycles. Exactly. It's just, I don't know that. I suppose there are things you can do. Keep your head on a swivel, watch the ditches, watch the tree lines, do the best that you can. But sometimes deer just make it impossible. They're going to get you one way or the other. But and avoid, dawn and dusk out in rural areas if you're riding and if you possibly can.
I've seen them, obviously, just in cars several times. They jump out, two-lane road.
Yeah.
Never been where I had to slam on the brakes. I've certainly had to brake. But my closest call wasn't that close, I guess.
Yeah.
The only time I got really was I did have a moment where I was driving in a really small, like an old Datsun when I was a high school kid, my mom's Datsun. And right along the side of the road, there was a buck, a big, I could see the big rack. And his head looked taller. He was way bigger than the car.
Yeah.
It was one of those. He was just standing there. And I just came by and I was like, my first thought was because he was standing right on the shoulder, right next to the road and not moving. I was like, is that is that a statue? Is that a wood carving of a? And then right as I was approaching, his head just swiveled like, "You coming by, little man?" And I just kept going, and it shook me for a while. I was so close. If he had taken one step forward, I would have hit him. And but man, I just saw this headline, and I just think about that being on a bike. That is just terrifying.
It is. It is terrifying, and I mean, like I said, it's there are things that you can do to minimize your risk, that sort of thing. But when that deer just comes bolting like that, like you said, this one T-boned. There's a famous video going around some years ago where the deer came out and it launched over top, completely hurtled, went completely over the motorcyclist. We've probably all seen that one. I've heard of that happening in Minnesota. There was some biker buddies of mine were headed up to Walker for the Moon Dance Jam thing, and I got up there the next day, and they're like, "Oh my God, you should have seen Ron. That went right over his freaking bike, and just hurtled him." So, it's a bad hop.
One just hurtled my car. I was driving by a tennis court in a wooded area just by my house, leaped over my car. I could see it over the roof. I saw the white underbelly, like in slow motion. It was majestic and scary.
Wow. How long ago was that?
A month.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Freaking deer.
Amazing.
Man, we got to get bigger brains in those things. That's all it comes down to. That is really kind of.
No, they are frightening.
That is off-putting, to say the very least. Hey, the show, Steve Gorman and the KQ Morning Show, is available in podcast anywhere you ever get a podcast, anytime you want the podcast. The podcast is sponsored by our good friends at Devani's Pizza and Hot Hoagies. Last I heard, they got a cheeseburger pizza to die for.
Oh, so now it's not on the menu, I don't think, anymore. I think it's been replaced by another new one. I just got the Hot Club the other day, and I was just looking on the app. Correct me if I'm wrong, please, Devani's, or just check it out for yourself. But I was on there. I was like, well, man, where's the cheeseburger? We got a new barbecue offering on there, which looks great. But that one, don't quote me on that. I don't know if that one's on there or not.
I go. I can strap on a feed bag at Devani's anytime.
Oh,
I have. When I was a younger man, I used to strap on the feed bag at Taco Bell, and I would have some true late night, as we all have marathon sessions at Taco Bell. I don't mean in the drive-thru. I mean, I would go in if it was still open, just sit down and just kick back and just strap on and go. There's a Taco Bell marathon session I want to share with you that's taking that to an entirely unprecedented and wholeheartedly unnecessary level. Hang tight.
Connect with us on the KQ Talk and Text line. 651-989-ROCK. That's 651-989-ROCK. 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show. It's Tuesday, June the 18th. As I mentioned a moment ago, man, I used to go deep at a Taco Bell.
Yeah,
I would work through that menu like there was no tomorrow.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, the enchilada, the original greatest dish in Taco Bell history, long since it canceled.
Yeah, you do go deep into the menu.
Had those black olives on top.
Oh, yeah.
The brown sauce.
I was just like a 24-pack guy, and then I'd just go to town. Then I would just eat till I got sick and then eat just a bit more. But I don't think I ever got too fancy there. But
I did a couple things. I would get just a bag of bean burritos, just as ordered. There was a time when they had a green sauce. You could say, I
remember the green sauce.
Verde sauce.
Yeah. What was it?
Verde.
Verde, yeah. The Verde.
So I'd go 4, sometimes 5 bean burritos at a sitting. The other, when they had that, the 10 pack of tacos or the 12, or what'd you say?
They had a 6, 12, and a 24.
Okay.
24.
I used to get the 12, and I would just
excuse me.
And with 24 or with the 12 pack, I would unwrap all of them in a big bowl and just smash them all up and then eat it. Just
brilliant! With some get some chips in there.
Then with the taco shells.
The shell.
It was just like
that's a hard shell.
Yeah, it's a hard shell taco.
I don't know the lingo, man.
Oh, did you used to go to pile up on the soft shell tacos?
Soft shell tacos,
like the soft
taco supreme.
I was a soft shell guy because they would sit for a while. I didn't eat them all in record time. It wasn't a chestnut kind of thing where I was gobbling tacos. And those, as you know, the hard shells, they got soft pretty quick.
That's very true. They certainly would.
Soggy.
So when I talk about Taco Bell marathons, in my life, it's moments that I walked in and sat down and just went to town.
Oh, yeah.
There's a Taco Bell marathon that's a whole different manner, a whole different situation. A woman decided, I think I'm going to run a marathon in a Taco Bell.
Inside the Taco Bell?
She does stunts for social media. She walked into a Taco Bell and placed a walking treadmill on the floor in the dining area, in the feed bag area, I call it. And over 10 hours, she walked 26.3 miles on a walking treadmill inside a Taco Bell.
I want to be the first person in history to do a marathon at Taco Bell. I brought my own treadmill and filled my water bottle up with Baja Blast. I kept eating yummy food and drinking my Baja Blast while I blast my way to the finish line. After 10 hours and 3 minutes, 26.3 miles, and 58,000 steps, I am extremely proud to say that I am the first person in history to do a marathon at Taco Bell.
I think she holds the marathon world record.
Let me tell you something.
Let
me tell you something. If I'm walking 26 miles while eating Taco Bell food, there will be bathroom breaks.
10 hours.
What's for the obvious product placement there?
Yeah, right. Exactly. Right, with the Baja Blast, the whole thing. She got it in there. Wow. Did she mention the treadmill? Weren't they involved? Wasn't a cross promotion?
I tell you what, I'm happy that they now have these Taco Bell cantinas where they serve alcohol. You know, you can go get beer and margaritas.
Wait, what?
Do they? I didn't know that.
In Nashville, right downtown Nashville, there's an all-night. It's called a Taco Bell cantina, and they have beers and margaritas and all that. And I just think, thank God I'm the age I am when they open that, because that would have been dangerous as a much younger man.
Burritos.
I mean, it's funny. Like, you don't think of going to Taco Bell to get drunk. You think about getting drunk, and then who's going to Taco Bell? Let's go.
Yeah, I used to say back in the old days, because every once in a while you'd hear about somebody getting the DUI in the Taco Bell drive-thru, and the old line was, if Taco Bell delivered, they'd cut DUIs in half. But now, of course, we have DoorDash and Uber Eats and all that good jazz. So it happens. I don't see a Taco Bell cantina here in the metro. I'm disappointed. I'm living in one of the hippest areas in the United States on the planet. Where the hell is our Taco Bell canteen? I'm not saying there isn't one. I'm just not spotting it.
Sorry, man. I mean, listen, not everybody gets to get the downtown hot late night Taco Bell cantina with booze.
Yeah, Arkansas, California, Colorado, Florida, Illinois, Michigan, Ohio, Nevada, New York, North Carolina, Texas, Virginia, Wisconsin has one, and we don't. Of the Madison Cantina location currently fighting for their liquor license.
Just a matter of time. It's just a matter of time. Keep the faith.
All right, I'll try.
651-989-ROCK is the KQ talk and text line. We had a call. Ryder, do we still have a call?
We do indeed. Jack from St. Paul.
Jack, good morning, sir.
Good morning.
What do you got for us?
Well, 25 years or so ago, we were playing softball on a Tuesday night. Mm-hmm. And we were short a guy, so my friend calls his brother, He's like, oh, yeah, okay, free beer, I'm coming. And it was a late night game. Everyone was hanging out until probably after 1 o'clock. Everybody goes home. Well, his brother goes to Taco Bell, pulls up and orders his food. Pulls up to the window to pick up his food. Mm-hmm. Waiting for his food, he passed out.
Oh, well, sure. Yeah.
Yeah. About 2-3 hours later, the cops come by.
2 to 3 hours.
And ask him what he's doing. And he said, I'm waiting for my food. And the cops are like, this place closed like 4 or 5 hours ago.
Oh, my God.
He's like, I'm going to go home then. They go, no, you're not going home. He got a DWI after him. He passed out in those clothes. God. And today, he's sober and a special ed teacher at the high school.
Lesson learned.
Still enjoying Taco Bell, I hope. Well, that was nice of someone, the employee, not to, give him a little nudge, wake him up or something before they closed the shop up and shut off all the lights with someone sitting at the drive-thru. All right. I mean,
strong.
Not that they had any. He learned his lesson.
He did learn his lesson. Thank you for the call, brother. We appreciate it. Can't say I've fallen asleep at a Taco Bell drive-thru, and I can't say I've fallen asleep inside a Taco Bell, but something tells me I have. I just feel like as many late nights as I've been sitting in one of those places, at least for a minute or two, just gotta bounce back. Let me power down for a quick second here.
Yeah, I did doze off at a 24 hours Hardee's once out in South Dakota. And but I was on foot. They woke me up, and I got back out there on the street, pointed in the right direction.
Sure. Yeah, you did. McDonald's has been experimenting with an AI drive-through ordering system for the past few years, and they've pretty much decided we got to put this bad boy up on blocks. It's just not happening. They're saying it's still. So think about all the things that AI does. AI can make Elvis Presley sing "Baby's Got Back," right? Mm-hmm. AI can put any voice into any context. AI can write a term paper. AI is clearly struggling to get an order right where French fries are involved at McDonald's. I mean, it's just a little tough. A lot of TikTokers are documenting issues. A gentleman received an ice cream cone with bacon added.
Okay, and what's the problem?
I'm not really sure. But what they're saying is all of our AI systems are going to be turned off. We got to go back to the drawing board here. We got to keep testing. I went through a McDonald's drive-thru. It's been, I don't know, sometime in the last couple of years. I was with my son, and we were just going, and we're like, let's grab a quick cheeseburger or something. We were on our way somewhere else and just needed a quick hit.
Yeah.
And when I pulled up, and I just remember the guy said, "Will you be ordering using the app?" And I said,
I'm here.
I'm here.
Yeah, that happens every time now.
And I said that, and of course, my son looked at me like, "You idiot." They always say that. Like, if you order through the app, you get a discount. But I was like, well, I would have ordered through the app if I was going to order through the app.
And now they have an app line. I know Chick-fil-A has an app line, and that's the people always flying through while I'm in the 3-block line. And I'm like, I just use the app. But that bothers me a little bit because I'm actually sitting there at the squawk box when you ask me that. I'm like, well, my answer is always like, next time, can we just do this, you and me? Here, we're talking. Let's make McDonald's love together.
I was.
I mean, what is it?
What come online that
Well, I mean, do I just sit there and go, excuse me? And then it's awkward, like I'm apping while they're sitting there. And I'm like, okay, I'm ordering on the app right now. Or could I just tell you what I freaking want?
I heard a podcast not that long ago. Who's the writer, the New Yorker guy, Malcolm Gladwell, who's written the book Blink and the 10,000 Hours guy, Malcolm Gladwell. Yeah, he has a podcast called Revisionist History, and one entire episode was about McDonald's French fries and how. And I guess the 80s, when fat-free was a brief craze, everything had to be fat-free. And then everybody realized, actually, fat's kind of important. We need to have fat in our diet.
Flavor?
Yeah. But McDonald's made this big switch, and he told the story of the guy who was, like, largely responsible, played a huge part in the fat-free craze, and got McDonald's. He campaigned. This one guy was like insistent at McDonald's, like, you've got to change the way you make your fries.
Stop it.
You're frying them in like beef fat products, and you got to get rid of all that. And this guy made it happen. And McDonald's changed their fry recipe at some point, and they recognize these don't taste nearly as good.
Right.
So we'll just make the portions bigger. And people were like, "Oh, that's cool."
All right.
And so the whole point is, well, do you want flavor or do you want more of it? And
so where supersize came from?
And basically, and it was all because they were like, people were like, these French fries suck now. They used to be the best. And McDonald's like, well, then just have more for the same amount of money. And they never switched back, even though beef tallow, that was the word they were throwing around.
That's beef fat,
And Gladwell went to a place like a McDonald's, like a place in New Jersey where they test all the food and they have all the stuff. And he got them to make old school French fries, which no one's tasted since like 1980 something. And on the podcast, he's like, there's a McDonald's technician / chef / scientist, and they make old school McDonald fries for him. And he's eating them and he's like, it's like he's having an orgasm, but he's like, you cannot imagine how good this is. And he's got a young producer with him who's like in her 20s, so she's never had one. And she's literally like, this is the best thing I've ever eaten in my life. And he's like, why won't you guys go back and just make a smaller order, but make them better again? It was fascinating, but it reminded me the days when Wendy's first hit town, when I was a kid, we were like, Wendy's, that burger's better than a Big Mac or a Quarter Pounder, but McDonald's was all about the fries. And we used to you'd get your burger at Wendy's, and then you'd get your fries at McDonald's, then you'd have your dinner.
Multiples.
Because they both had drive-thrus. Yeah. But McDonald's used to be the fries, man. They had the fries.
Now I'm really craving some old McDonald's fries. I mean, I will pay $1,000 if Steve will give me $1,000 if someone can get me some old school McDonald's fries.
There's a spot in New Jersey that'll hook you up, apparently.
All right. Well, damn it. All to hell. But you're right. I'm sure I was well, there's more of them anyway.
Yeah.
I'll just keep eating them till I like them.
That's exactly what they did. I mean, how funny is that? Like, yeah, we know these aren't as good, but here's 62% more for the same amount of money.
Yeah, they say the Gen X generation was the first generation raised on commercials that were targeted towards us, targeted towards children. That was the first television audience where they're like, hey, kids, here's a commercial for you. And so we've been basically raised by marketing. You know, a lot of our social and popular culture has been marketed to us. And, we are just, big old walking marketing robots.
That's us.
Yeah, and so McDonald's, they can manipulate us like that. But I want the good stuff.
Taste it. And enjoy.
Hey, man, speaking of robots, National Restaurant Association just have their big annual show in Chicago, the National Restaurant Association. So people bring out all the new ideas, new innovations, and a lot of robots were involved. Innovative gadgets, robots. Here's a few of the winners. There was a thing called an Alpha Grill. It cooks 200 hamburger patties an hour and then cleans itself. We're just trying to get rid of all the pimple-faced kids we can. The iRobo 2 is a robotic stir-fry machine that can prepare 30 meals per hour. Okay. Not really sure stir-fry. Come on, anybody can whip up some stir-fry. A pizza bot designed to accurately dispense the most expensive and labor-intensive toppings.
All right.
I've worked at several pizza places in my time, and I can tell you, seriously, 4 different places I've spent time where I'm making pizzas, and the ones where they were like measuring each topping perfectly, they were just the worst.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's like, just eyeball that crap, man.
Yeah, just grab a handful.
A handful of black olives, boom. A handful of those green peppers, boom. Don't give me a scoop.
I know this is going to shock you guys that I'm going there with this, but I'm thinking about those Japanese sex robots that are awfully lifelike and come with an off button. And if you can cross-make that with the pizza robot, the pizza bot, and the love bot, I'm thinking I could learn to love again.
That's a good concept.
I think there might be one more great relationship left in me.
Man.
Yeah, I mean, I just got to wait this thing out.
Well, I mean, I will say there are several episodes of the Jetsons. There's sometimes Rosie just has that look about her.
You're
like,
kidding
man.
me with Rosie?
Yeah, she's saucy. Got a little attitude.
Mm-hmm. What about
I hear and obey.
If you love it, lube it.
The Vogelbot, an all-in-one automated fry cook that can make fries and chicken fingers. I used to say, all I need is someone to my thing was always, just bring me nachos. Just, if I could just pick up a bell, ding-a-ding-ding, and someone walks in with a plate of perfectly heated, perfectly melted cheese nachos. I'm happy for life. And Rosemary used to say to me, "You're just going to leave me for some young girl who wants to blah blah." And I'd go, "No, I'm not. That's not my thing. It's fine. You're good with nachos. We're good. And it would always be the joke. And
you're good with nachos. We're solid.
And as long as the nachos keep coming. And the old Tennessee Titans quarterback Steve McNair tragically murdered by a much younger girlfriend he had on the side who was a waitress at what's the place you go play, Dave & Buster's. He met her like playing video games. She was like 19.
Are you listening, Bill Belichick?
And when she shot him as he slept and then killed herself, I saw the news broke. It was the 4th of July, maybe 2010. I remember I was in a festival in rural Michigan, and I woke up on the bus in the woods, and I'm like, look at my phone and I'm like, Steve McNair died. I was like, oh no. And then I see the story and I'm like, this is crazy. The first thing my wife says, see what happened? I'm like, what is this?
Lesson learned.
I'm trying to tell you, this is not in my interest. I get it. It's not going to happen.
Well, I think what she's telling you is, just sleep with one eye open.
On the text line, 651-989-ROCK, Jake just texted, many years ago, I was getting a pizza at Papa Murphy's. The worker was weighing the cheese literally to the single shred.
They do that. They have the little scoops.
Right.
Come on now.
Yeah, well, they're an accountant now, probably doing my taxes. But, let's go. Let's just make the pizza.
We just got a text also saying, just make your own fries at home in beef fat. That's the old school McDonald's fry recipe.
Okay, that's what I'll do. I'll make my own fries like a third world country citizen. Yes.
A little bag of beef fat hanging around in the fridge.
Oh, I did not fight a war for this country. That's the old Mitch Hedberg line. I did not fight a war for this country to make my own fries. You fought a war for this country? No, I said I did not fight a war for this country to make my own fries.
Yeah.
I was thinking about that. I thought, that's something people I know would do. I know a guy, Paul Hurley. You're out there listening, Paul, this morning. He'd be like, I'll make you some of those fries right now. I'll get some beef fallow or tallow. He'd know where to pick it up, at the butcher's shop and get the right potatoes and the whole thing. But for me, I'm at the whimsy and will of our fast food restaurants.
The McDonald's, they were the first fast food place I remember that had games, like scratch off cards and different things and prizes. They're just, they had the Happy Meals that came out of there. I remember going into McDonald's repeatedly. They used to have a Super Bowl promotion. They had a card and you'd scratch it off, and if you guessed. There was one, it was pick the MVP for the Super Bowl, and it was two big scratch-offs at the top of the card. You'd scratch one of the two, and one of them said AFC, and the other said NFC, and you didn't know which was which. And then you'd scratch from the bottom, there was a series of numbers, and you'd scratch one number, and if you picked the right conference and the number, and that guy won the Super Bowl MVP, it was $100,000.
Nice.
This is in the late 70s. I mean, it was a fortune.
Yeah.
And I bought a card, and I scratched off 88.
Okay.
Lynn Swan.
Oh.
A week before the Super Bowl.
What, 79?
Yeah. And then I have and I'm like, oh my God, that if I get the right box up top, that could be Lynn Swan.
Yeah.
And I stared at that card for 2 hours holding a quarter, and I finally went and scratched off NFC.
Who was it? Was it the Rams? So 79 would have been the 80s Super Bowl.
Lynn Swan was the MVP of the Super Bowl.
Oh,
Cowboys, wasn't it?
God.
As close as I ever got.
Was it the Cowboys in 79? No, I think it was the Cowboys won in 78, 77. See, it was
79 was the Jackie Smith drop ball.
Yeah,
Pasadena Rose Bowl. Steelers won that one.
Okay, that was Super Bowl 13, but that was in 79. It was the 78 season, right? Yes, exactly. That's what always screws me up because, they won 74, 75, but the Super Bowls were 75, 76, and then 78, 79 seasons were 79 and 80. They beat the Rams and Vince Ferragamo.
All I'm saying is I was that close to a Smokey and the Bandit Trans Am.
That hurts, babe. No
With
kidding.
a big decal on the hood.
Yeah,
that was a pretty rough one. That would have been a great thing. That would have. Can you imagine how cool I would have been as a 7th or 8th grader with all that? I would have been like the coolest kid in school for sure.
All right.
Underrated skills, we've all got them. Let's discuss. Hang tight.
It's the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS. Zep, Tony, and Steve Gorman are the KQ Morning Show. 92 KQRS.
Steve Gorman, this is the KQ Morning Show. Good morning for Tuesday, June 18th. Friday night, the KQ Karaoke Cruise is taking off with Paddle for River Boats. I'm looking very forward to that. We've been giving away a lot of tickets. We're probably going to have a few more later in this week. You'll want to stay tuned. We're having a good time as we gear up to go sing our hearts out on a boat in a river. Different than a van down by the river.
Right.
We're going to be on a boat in the river.
It's very, very Proud Mary.
On Friday night.
Rolling down the river.
You got that straight. There are some underrated skills that, you always hear people say, like, oh, these are things everybody should know.
Yeah.
And the truth is, not everybody knows these. In fact, with every concurrent subsequent generation, I think fewer and fewer people know things that we used to take for granted you had to know. But that's every generation, right?
Yeah.
With technological advancement circumstances or for whatever reason, things that were very normal to one generation, 2 or 3 down the road sound like completely outdated and antiquated. Basic car maintenance. That's something that we all grew up. I mean, you, me, and Tony were all about the same age. You know, you had to know how to change a tire. You had to know how to measure the oil, you know, make sure you got the right amount in there. You had to know where the oil goes. You had to figure out. I mean, I know nothing. That's the wrong side of the brain for me, but I could do all those things.
Yeah, that's some pretty basic stuff. You know, like changing the oil and doing some of that stuff. It's getting a little complicated under the hood now. Sometimes I open the hood and I'm like, where's the engine?
Yeah, I can put in windshield wiper fluid. That's it.
That's right. They put a little graphic right there on the top for me so I don't screw it up.
Every brand has the same symbol, too. Thank God.
Yeah, thank God.
What kind of car you got?
Yeah, but some basic things like that, like checking the oil. I know the newer cars let you know the oil life, the oil pressure and all that stuff. But and changing a tire, they'll still call you if they need to change the tire. Taught the kids how to change a tire. Still, if I'm in the state and there's a flat tire, Dad, I'm like, all right.
I hate what I'm about to say. I didn't teach either of my kids how to change a tire.
It's called AAA.
Yeah, that's right. That's really crazy that's the case.
That's how you get hit on the side of the road. Let someone else change it. You'll be fine. Don't.
I guess that's what I was thinking at the time. And thank you for reminding me. That's what I was thinking.
It's unsafe.
Yeah. But basic car maintenance is something that we're definitely not. That's an underrated skill at this point. But to your point, one that you really don't need nearly as much. Cars do know how to tell you before something goes wrong. Yeah. First aid. I learned CPR in high school. My school made everybody learn CPR. Had the dummy come in, do the chest compression,
staying alive,
the mouth to mouth, the whole thing. Try to get those lungs to move a little bit. The Heimlich maneuver. I saw my brother saved a woman with the Heimlich maneuver when we were in. I was still in high school. I was 16. He was 18, working at the aforementioned family restaurant one summer. Yeah. And an elderly woman eating a salad that I had prepared. She got a gherkin down the wrong tube.
You got to cut those pickles up, man.
I got to cut them up, man. And she was. I mean, it was serious. Like, it was more than my brother, who's actually a waiter. I worked in the kitchen. I wasn't suitable for customer service, apparently.
Kept you hidden in the back.
He looked better in khakis and a tie and would take the orders at this. This is a place that my family took over. I always referred to it before we owned it as, that little old lady restaurant. Because I'd been there twice, and it was just me and a bunch of little old ladies. Yeah. But this woman, she pushed her chair back from the table, and she was just in sort of a she stood up and getting attention, and her friends were all going, oh no, but nobody did anything.
Land sakes.
And my brother, they all got the vapors all of a sudden, and my brother ran over behind, and he just went up behind her, and I mean, there's no way she didn't have bruised ribs at the least. I mean, he really worked her over, but
better than dying.
But that gherkin came out with some force. It shot out.
Yeah, in movies it always launches.
And she thanked him and coughed and cried a little bit, and she was, more than anything, literally just embarrassed.
Does she still send him a card every year?
Not that I know of. We'd have to get back. This is 40 some odd years ago. This is a while back. This is 82. But but even as much as that was like, oh my God, that actually just happened. We were like, yeah, that was good when we learned that at school.
Yeah.
That's I can't believe that actually came in handy.
Sometimes they do. What about field dress a deer? Is that on there?
Don't see that on this list, but I'd be willing to.
Who's going to do it for you?
I'd take a class.
How about make a pot pipe out of an aluminum can?
That's a staple.
You just pick that up in the street.
I was never even much of a stoner, and I knew how to do that.
All right.
I've seen pipes made out of. an apple.
You
name anything.
Apple, yeah.
There was a lot of that. How to tell an interesting story.
That's something you should lie.
I'm just reading a list of underrated skills.
Okay,
that's a good one.
But you just I wouldn't have thought of that. But what's worse than someone who doesn't know how to tell a story, trying to tell a story?
Someone that doesn't try to tell a story.
Yeah,
that's my favorite. Even over a person that can tell a story, I'll take the person who can't and won't.
Well, sure. It's like Tom Waits said: a gentleman is someone who knows how to play an accordion but chooses not to.
I feel like telling a story, either you have it or you don't.
Yeah, I agree.
You don't. But, I suppose you can make it. There's probably a couple of things you need to know.
Brevity.
Also on this list, sewing. I could not sew a button right now,
No.
literally, to save my life.
Okay, so I've done it a few times. They do teach that's basic service stuff when you're in there. But, yeah, I remember when I would do it, I just kept going around the holes until like there was just a big wad of thread, and then I would tear it off. But that's basically it. I could get a button on, and it would stay on for a little while. But not
a
much
chance.
No.
Not a chance for that one. Cooking is a good underrated skill. It's not only healthier, but does save a lot of money.
Yeah.
Watching both my kids embrace the concept of making their own meals has actually been awesome.
Yeah, it's cool.
You know, they both went off to college. One in 19, the other in 21, and get there and realize like, oh, I don't have mom or dad here to just pick up the check, and I have a very strict budget for food. I guess I got to learn how to make, because we were trying in there in high school, like, we've got to make this is how you do it, and they'd be like, yeah, whatever. And then as soon as they didn't have an option, but they both embraced it. And like my son Connell's like air fried dude. He's always making steaks and salmon and vegetables and making his own sweet potato fries. I'm like, man, look at you.
Good man. He's
fantastic.
a catch.
Yeah, that even upped my game. But then they get a little older. Now the girls are into making grandma's recipes. My mom's written a couple of cookbooks. And so they got cookbooks from my mom, and they're making these old recipes I had when I was a kid. I'm like, this is phenomenal.
Oh, that sounds good.
That's good
Shepherd's
stuff.
pie.
Well, pot pie is we're Dutch, Central PA, so pot pie is a big part of it. That's one of them, because you got to hand roll the noodles. Don't go buying some egg noodles or pasta noodles or soba or something like that. You got to make them, the old Dutch, pasta.
I don't know if my mom's recipes would hold up. I mean, there was a few that were really good, but her general vibe with cooking was just just quantity.
Volume.
It was just bulk.
Yeah.
Volume was the word.
Yeah, you can't be throwing together a nice little, a chic boutique meal. That's not the word I'm looking for, but something top shelf when you've got 8 mouths to feed, 10.
Yeah,
really.
Volume. I had friends growing up, of course, also from big families, but I had plenty of friends that were only children or one of only 2 kids.
Yeah.
And my parents, as the youngest of a big family, my parents were usually older than my friends' parents. So I had a lot of, not only were other parents younger and therefore hipper, but they had fewer mouths to feed. And so I grew up going to friends' houses, and like their parents would be like, they'd have a wok.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, whoa, man.
Gourmet meals.
Like you cooking a wok.
Right.
It was like very, very esoteric.
Exotic.
And then the first time I had spaghetti sauce that wasn't from a jar, I was just so bewildered. Like, what do you mean you made this? You can't make spaghetti sauce. You gotta
ragu.
You gotta open the ragu. We were a ragu family.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, we love the ragu too. Mom would dress it up. She'd throw that bay leaf in there that always seemed to end up in my mouth somehow.
Yeah, right. Of course. Just takes one.
Yeah.
I never trusted that either. I was like, what is in that leaf?
Yeah.
Wow.
You're not supposed to eat that. Why the hell is it in there?
Thing's doing the job.
Yeah.
So as we mentioned, things that are really important to know: CPR, Heimlich maneuver, life-saving basics are good. However, maybe you might find yourself in a situation where you need to know one of those things and you don't quite remember. Most of us would go, well, just YouTube it. Just Google it. You'll find it. See a video. I had an experience. My wife needed an adjustment made, and I was able to YouTube something and make sense of it, and it worked. And we were like, holy smokes, what an amazing thing. Right after I moved here, within the first 2 months of being here, you guys might remember this, for the first time, she had a vertigo attack.
Yes, I do remember that.
And I mean, she couldn't get out of bed.
Yeah.
And I flew home on a Friday to be with her, and I found this maneuver called the Epley maneuver, I believe. And I'm watching the YouTube video. I'm like, this says it'll, and it worked. Wow. I couldn't believe it. We went from 2 minutes, she can't move, and to suddenly she's like, holy crap, I feel normal again.
Yeah, it's weird.
So I went and I Googled it, found it, and it was all good. Now, if she had needed CPR, I might have been in trouble because YouTube, if you go to a lot of first aid videos on YouTube in a pinch, they have 2 to 3 minutes of advertisements before it hits. You have to go through at least 30 seconds before you can skip them. And now a lot of people around the world are complaining, and there's like they're going, hey, YouTube, you got to stop putting ads in front of first aid videos. And in fact, a woman in Germany, there's a case going on. They're saying she died earlier this year. Her CPR was delayed because the helper who was there on hand, ready to do it, couldn't get to the video fast enough to see what to do.
All the more reason to probably know these things, but yeah, I think one of those YouTube dorks can figure out how to write in a line of code that if it's a life-saving do-it-yourself video, perhaps we don't have to load that up with who to vote for this fall.
Emergency responders, they say every second literally counts. And so, if you're talking about with choking, especially if it's an infant or a small child, and just imagine the panic, and then you're going there, and then it's like, you're watching an ad for PetSmart going, oh my God, let's go.
Oh, quick, I'll sign up for a subscription that's ad-free. Just give me another, what's my credit card number? What's that 3-pin? Hold on.
It's like some of the medication bottles, too. They're impossible to open. Painkiller ones that you can't use enough pressure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. And then if you need it, like in an emergency situation, that would be.
I guess the like you said, it's just it's good to have a backup, but nothing beats knowing that already.
Right.
Tim just texted in, I gave my significant other the Heimlich maneuver twice in one evening, and I've regretted it ever since.
I mean, was she choking? Well, right. Never.
Here's a text. I thought Tony learned how to make a classic goulash in home economics class from someone named Mickey.
Oh, funny. I did take a class in high school. It was just called dinner. I thought it would be easy, but it was very difficult.
All right. Tomorrow I will bring in some Tupperware that you will take home and fill up with your delicious, tasty goulash.
Did you make a goulash?
I did. Yeah, it was horrible. I was in there and there were a few pregnant teens in class and me.
I love it.
Really?
Yeah.
You were like in the wrong side of the tracks.
Good way to meet chicks.
That's good. That's a great endorsement for Minnesota. Where I grew up in high school, girls, they disappeared when they got pregnant. They just took a family trip. Like, really? What happened to her? Why is she gone? It's January. What do you mean she's taking the rest of the school year off? Yeah, that was not. That's not how they do it down south. It's like, get her out of here.
Minnesota, they teach you how to make goulash.
Hey, man, whatever it takes. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I mean, if goulash is going to keep good people happy, I don't even know what that means.
All I know is, at the school cafeteria, I did not mind goulash day. Goulash was a good day, I thought.
Somebody texted in 1980. We all took shop and then home ec. I sewed a corduroy 12 GA period case. 12. I don't know what that means. Corduroy something. It was so perfect, I've never sewed again. I still have it. Yeah, I've been taught to sew. It just didn't stick.
Yeah.
I've had needle and thread in hand with someone telling me what to do, and I'm just looking at them going, before this is over, there's going to be blood on the table. Trust me, this is just not how my brain works.
No, Mom ran us through a few things, and I'm like, but can you put the Kiss patch on my jean jacket, please? I don't want to look stupid or be crooked.
That's exactly right. 651-989-ROCK, the talk or text line, whichever you prefer. We have a call, Tony.
Kathy from St. Cloud with Life Skills.
Kathy, good morning.
Hi.
What have you got for us? We're doing great, thank you.
Well, I was calling. I know that you're talking about things that you should know or that you should learn along the way.
Yep.
And I watch a TV show called Dr. Oakley. She's a vet tech she's a veterinarian in Alaska.
Okay.
They have 3 daughters, and their dad was making them learn how to chop wood so they could take care of themselves in the future. And the one daughter says, "Yeah, my dad is teaching us how not to be useless."
So, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah, that works.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. When's the last time you chopped wood, Kathy?
Well, my dad used to chop wood. I chopped wood for years and years, but he passed away 18 years ago, so it's been a long time.
Gotcha. It's been a minute for me, too. Trust me. Well, thanks for the call, Kathy.
You're welcome. Thanks. Have a good day.
Ya.
Yeah, how to make a fire, at least. You know, if you find yourself out stranded somewhere, you know, that's a good one to know, how to make a fire.
The old, the Black Crowes piano player, Ed Harsh, two things he could do on a level like I've never seen, and we've mentioned them both in this segment. He can make anything into a bong. Anything. He could smoke weed out of anything you handed him. It was, but the other thing he could do, as a Canadian who had once worked on oil rigs up in the Arctic Circle, he could make a fire like no one's business.
Yeah.
I mean, out of nothing, he would just suddenly there'd be flames. It was an incredible thing to watch this guy who, and from the look of him, you just assume he was about 6'5", 150 pounds. I'm not exaggerating.
Yeah.
And he just looked like a straw man. And then, but my God, if you were ever somewhere and it was a little cold, just say, Ed, got a fire for us?
Yeah.
And I mean, he just had the knack, man.
Yes.
Not cheating, not lighter fluid, no matches. I mean, just he could walk into any room and figure out what's the most flammable and how do I get it hot enough. He was like a complete alchemist in that way.
Yeah, I appreciate that. No, I did, the backcountry stuff out in the mountains, including elk hunting, and I took 5 lighters, those little lighter balls, lighter kit, something I bought on the internet that you could light a fire with. I tried to cover all my bases. I did not want to be out there without a fire if I needed it to spend the night. And luckily, I didn't have to spend the night. But you know what? Turns out it got pretty damn cold during the day.
Yeah, that'll happen.
Like, is that you making a fire over there, Zepp? I'm like, yeah, man. Next time I'm bringing some freaking hot dogs.
I'm sure another good thing to know was would always have been to learn another language. You just never know. It's just good to have.
Yeah, but that's that's hard.
It's hard. And I shortcut that one by just learning a few songs in French class and then pretending I would speak to people in French. To me, it was just as good if someone thinks you speak French as being able to speak French.
Right.
As long as that guy thinks I'm speaking French, I'm cool here. It doesn't matter.
Well, they don't know.
Yeah.
Picking a lock. I had a friend years ago in the service teach me how to pick a lock, and not for malfeasance, but just to be able to a house lock, your standard door lock, not the deadbolt, but just the regular door lock. It's incredibly simple and easy. That whole thing that they do in the movies with the picks and everything, and down there, that's not it. In fact, it's ridiculous, but it's come in very handy and saved me $80 here or there instead of calling a locksmith. Yeah, it just takes a good old credit card, driver's license, anything will do. In fact, I had a buddy,
actually works, huh?
It actually works.
Wow.
Now, obviously, maybe they've figured a way around that. It's been decades since I've tried this. I'm sure there are people going, yeah, they figured out that any Hunya could get into your house with a credit card, so they've now made locks better, lock-proof in that sense. But back in the day, yeah, that sucker would work.
You've also figured out how to do those Mission Impossible masks, haven't you?
Yes, I have. Yeah. You guys still haven't seen what I really look like. Yeah, one of these days, I'll unveil it.
Quick note here for our friends who are thinking of joining NASA. A new study does show that if you blast off into space, even for a very short time, it's going to impact not only your brain function, but your immune system and even your physical condition. Yeah. Researchers have found if you spend 3 days off Earth, there are modest declines in cognitive tests, you have a stressed immune system, and genetic changes within their cells. That's with 3 days in space. There are guys up on that International Space Station that they go up there for months on end.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Doesn't it like change your bone density too?
Yeah. All those things, by the way, happen after 3 days in Sturgis as well.
Well, that's a very good point. I've noticed, I can't say I've noticed. I've always been under the impression that if you go to space for any extended amount of time, there's a good chance that something's going to burst right through your abdomen.
It could happen.
Oh, there's a new one coming out. Did you guys see that?
Yes.
A new Alien?
New Aliens, yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
I don't know if it's a Ridley Scott operation or not. I think
it is.
He's producing it, I believe.
Really?
Yeah, I just saw the trailer recently, and I don't even remember the name of it.
Oh, that's great.
Alien something, but they're going back. You know, he tried to do that whole Prometheus thing, and kind of fell flat a little bit. Didn't really hit at the box office. I appreciated the movies. I'm into the sci-fi thing, but yeah, I just watched.
Alien Romulus.
That's it, Alien Romulus. And I just saw it at Sunday, Father's Day, when we were at Mad Max Furiosa.
Well, that's exciting.
Yeah, it's
Hey, speaking of exciting, we would love to send you to see Motley Crue at the Louder Than Life Festival this fall. One winner will score a trip for two to Louisville, Kentucky for the Louder Than Life 2024 4 days of rock with Motley Crue and a whole lot of other badass bands. If you text the national keyword SWEET to 95819 right now, you will enter for a chance to win.
Connect with us on the KQ Talk and Text line. 651-989-ROCK. That's 651-989-ROCK. 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show. It's Tuesday, June 18th. That was Paul McCartney's Jet. This just in, breaking news, McCartney DUI in the Hamptons last night.
Oh, my God.
No, I'm sorry. It was Justin Timberlake, not Paul McCartney.
Like the
Justin
new Paul McCartney.
Timberlake was busted for driving while intoxicated out in the Hamptons last night. He's being arraigned this morning in New York City.
I didn't know Hampton cops handed out DWIs to the rich and famous.
Maybe,
I thought they were there to get you home.
I think maybe he just wasn't drunk enough. Maybe they're like, dude, you're not keeping up with the Joneses here.
Yeah, who knows?
The actual Paul McCartney, who actually also has a place in the Hamptons, is 82 years old today. I have long since, I can't remember when I didn't think of him as the all-time heavyweight champion of rock and roll music. I'm not saying he's the greatest ever. I'm not saying he's my favorite ever. What I'm saying is career-wise, nobody can touch him. Right. I mean, you could say, well, Bob Dylan's still making records, but Bob Dylan has not been nothing compares to being the Beatle.
Yeah, no, you can go back and say, well, Elvis had 22 number one hit singles just himself, but Elvis didn't write the songs.
No, Elvis didn't write the songs. Elvis was gone at 42. McCartney's 82, and he's been White Heat Comet famous for 60 years. And like you said, wrote all those songs and just still performing. Paul McCartney, on his 82nd birthday, they have just announced adding shows to the Got Back tour. He's got a European run in December. That's going to be after his South American run for the month of October.
I mean, I know a lot of this is genetics. They say that if you do everything right and live just by the book, you might add a year or two or a couple. You know, if you avoid smoking, you're not going to get this sort of thing. But so I know a lot of it's genetics, but he's been a vegetarian for how many decades?
Over 50 years.
I think, maybe, yeah.
Could be something there. Well, you look at he and Ringo both.
Because the energy they get out. I mean, not that he's just 82. People make it to 82 with a sloppy diet, perhaps. But this guy, to be able to, like the Stones, I don't know, is Mick a vegetarian?
I don't think Mick is, but he's certainly, Mick was running like way before running was something people did.
I remember.
He knew in the mid-70s, even when he was still partying. Mick Jagger partied the way normal people party, which is, every couple of nights a tie went on. He wasn't like Keith Richards partying, as in true lifestyle. But even then, he knew, like, well, if I'm going to do my job, I got to be in shape. You know, I don't know that McCartney. I saw him 2 years ago. The week he turned 80, I saw him. He played just under 3 hours, and it's astounding because I was thinking, like, I know several people in their 80s. I know a lot of people in their 80s, and they get around, and some of them are doing great, but they're not doing that.
I bet there are Paul McCartney fans in the audience of those 3 hour shows going, oh, has he got another hour?
And by the way, put a Les Paul or a Hofner bass on your shoulder for 3 hours and just stand there.
Right.
Yeah.
Those things get heavy after a while, you know?
Maybe his isn't plugged in anymore. Maybe it's a cardboard.
It could be.
It's inflatable.
Give him the prop base.
By the way, I wouldn't take a single demerit.
No.
I wouldn't. I'd let him have it at this point. He's going down to South America for a series of stadium shows in October. His drummer, Abe Laboro Jr., I've met him a few times, and I was with him at a big music thing in L.A. years ago. And like, oh, Abe, how you doing? Good. We're chatting. How's it going? And I said, what do you guys got a break now? What are you doing? He goes, yeah. He goes, I just got, so this is in January of 2013. And he goes, yeah, I just got an email. We're going to South America for some shows. They just got thrown together. And I said, oh, really? He goes, yeah, it looks like we're doing like 9 gigs down there. And this is in January. And he just got the email that day. And so in my mind, I immediately think, oh, it must be this summer.
Yeah.
And I said, oh, when is it? And he goes, first week of March. And I said, what? He goes, first week of March. I go, it's January 10th or whatever. And he goes, yeah, Paul just decides he wants to go somewhere and we go. And I go, you're doing football stadiums with 6 weeks. He goes, that's all it takes. And I mean, every show sells out. And you just start to realize like the domino effect of every bit of your life just being easier and easier and easier. And you're just Paul McCartney. And 60 years of that means you wake up in January and go, I think I'd like to go to Brazil. Yeah. And then 7 weeks later, you're in front of 100,000 fans who are happy to see you.
Sure, they keep about 40 semi-trailers full at all times in case Paul gets an itch.
It's pretty crazy, man. Anyway, happy birthday, Paul McCartney. Keep it up there, brother. Yeah, he and Ringo both. No meet for decades and decades, and they're both just fit as fiddles. It's just crazy.
Yeah, it is.
That's pretty amazing to me. It truly is. So I've always said, I love rock and roll music because of the Beatles. That's what I had a couple Bee Gees records and I really dug it, but it was when I got into the Beatles that my world exploded and I went crazy. So my thing was always I love rock and roll music because of the Beatles, and I play rock and roll music because of REM. Because it was REM was the band where, and like I was really into punk and post-punk and new wave, late 70s, early 80s. That was like my music, So I never let go of the Beatles. And, I loved Earth, Wind and Fire, and I loved the Doors, and I loved all these things. But it was that music in the late 70s that felt like mine because I was there for it in real time. But it was when I first saw and started listening to REM that I thought, well, maybe I'll do that too. Like they just opened that door in my head because it's what I wanted to do. But you don't see Earth, Wind and Fire and go, yeah, I'm going to do that. It's like saying
that's not attainable.
It's like saying I'm going to go to the moon. You're like, wait a minute, hold on. I'm missing a few. I'm at A and they're at Z, and I don't see any other letters in the alphabet. And when you're a kid, most of the shows you go to are big arena shows. You're seeing I'm seeing giant concerts, and I'm like, that's another planet. But REM's the first band I ever saw in a club. They were tiny. No one knew who they were yet. We didn't know who they were yet. And I started, I'm in 11th grade and I'm sneaking into some clubs. And you just go into a club with friends and you kind of suck, but you're kind of cool. Yeah, that's right. And I remember it's the first time I connected. Oh wait, that's what the Beatles did. Of course, they weren't already the Beatles at the Cavern. They were just. But it's like little baby steps along the way. So REM is the band that made me think. And then when I got to college, and they were anyway, they've just the band means the world to me. I don't listen to REM albums that often anymore. I don't need to. I heard them all a billion times. But anyway, all this to say, REM just in the last week has gotten a ton of attention. They were just inducted into the Songwriters Hall of Fame, all 4 members. Their entire catalog, all the songs were written on, as a group. No matter who wrote what part, everything's just attributed to the 4 guys. They just decided early on, before they were even really a band, their guitarist, Peter Buck, said, bands always break up over money. Let's just get that off the table. Let's just split everything equally, no matter what. And they all said, sure. And literally, that's the smartest decision any band ever made ever. Cool. Because they were always the smartest band in terms of how they handled their business. They went into the Songwriters Hall of Fame and they did a bunch of interviews for the first time in years. All 4 guys are being interviewed together and they're all still friends. There were some pretty interesting talks about, things they said over the course of a few interviews. It's kind of like, why did you guys actually break up? What led to that?
I think the main reason.
Sorry.
Oh no. Well, Peter Buck had a pretty great answer. Do you have that?
I do have it. Yeah.
I think the main reason was that there wasn't anything we could agree on really musically. What kind of music? How to record it? Are we going to go on tour? We could barely agree on where to go to dinner, and now we could just agree on where to go to dinner.
Right. We're sitting at the same table together with deep admiration and lifelong friendship. A lot of people that do this can't.
What would it take to get you guys back together one more time? A comet.
The only band that broke up and literally meant it, and I when they announced in 2011 via press release, we are no longer a musical band. I remember reading that and I was like, they're the only ones that'll ever mean it. They will never reunite. Yeah. There won't be an album. There won't be a tour. And REM fans all knew that too. They're just those kind of guys. And they were always so aware they had such a great self-awareness that so few bands have, which is, and like Peter Buck just said, like we couldn't agree anymore. We didn't know what we wanted to be. And when asked, well, why won't you reunite right now? Promoters are lining up Brinks trucks.
God, yes.
And he said real simply, he goes, well, it would never be as good as it once was. And it wouldn't be.
Yeah.
You know, and
to be cool with that, to just say, you know what we did was something 1% of 1% of bands and musicians and artists will ever do, and we're cool with that.
It's pretty great just to see, because I always said, like, that's the band, you know, that's, you just want to be that band. It's so hard to just maintain your core principles and integrity with all the offers that came their way and still come their way. But they're also like, I think they feel like, man, we got away. We got out right when it was still all good. And just the awareness to do that. So few bands. And simply, like he just said, now we're just friends. We can all go to dinner. And they are still friends. From personal and anecdotal and everybody I've ever known who's been in a band, staying friends with the people you're in bands with, that's the heart. That's damn near impossible.
Yeah.
And the funniest thing I thought when Pete Buck said we could barely agree on where to go to dinner, because this is what happened, and I've said this about my band. It doesn't take long when you're never apart from each other and you're living in a submarine on a tour bus. You have a conversation about what do you think the next single should be? And the next day you have a conversation about where are we going to stop for lunch, and it's just as heated an argument. There's no difference in passion. It's like you lose context so fast. You're like, I'm not going to Taco Bell again.
I'm not eating subs again.
I am not signing a deal for a second release in Japan. You know, it's just, whatever's happening in a band, you just lose perspective so fast. It's completely insane. Two members of that band, REM, bassist Mike Mills and guitarist Peter Buck, are in a band called the Baseball Project. Are you hip to this?
No.
They've been doing this for years. They're playing the Turf Club next month. The Baseball Project, it's two members of REM, Steve Wynn, the leader of the Dream Syndicate, another one of my favorite bands from those days. Steve's wife, Linda's the drummer, and another guy plays guitar. They write and record music, and they release albums, and they tour, and every song is about baseball.
That's interesting.
They're called the Baseball Project, and they literally write songs about baseball players. Like they have songs about Dale Murphy and Hank Aaron and Jim Palmer and whoever. I mean, it's complete. They're just obsessed with baseball.
They should wear uniforms on stage.
Well, if you go to the when you go to their website, like instead of tour schedule, it's like here's this season's schedule, and they have all the stuff. It's just a thing they've been doing for years, and they're really good. It sounds like, and it's funny because you're like, this sounds like an REM song or a Dream Syndicate song, but instead of Michael Stipe singing about flowers of Guatemala, it's all about infield wizardry from Ozzie Smith. It's fascinating, and if you are a baseball fan like the members of the Baseball Project, you might know this already. I just found out about it. The Northwoods Baseball Podcast. It's called Northwoods Baseball Sleep Radio. So there's a lot of apps. There's a lot of things that we have in our lives to help us get to sleep. White Noise is a very popular app.
Yeah.
You can open up your phone and you put together a series of sounds, everything from a rain stick to a waterfall to a storm. It could be just a crickety rope hammock. Something that just lulls you into sleep, right?
I go way back, turntable days. I had the record that I bought at a used shop, cheapos, right up there in Uptown, and on one side it was a babbling brook, and on the other side it was the waves from the ocean rolling in.
Sure.
And I go all the way back with that. You drop the needle, and of course it was the return needle. Wouldn't start over, but it would return. Nice. But that 20 minutes that it bought me on one side of the album of Babbling Brook was usually enough to push me off to sleep.
That'll do it. Well, if you're someone who used to listen to radio baseball on the radio, imagine like an AM radio broadcast of some Midwestern minor league game that you don't know the players and you don't really care, but that sound is such a Pavlovian comforting thing. This show, the Northwoods Baseball Sleep Radio, it's available in podcast. It's just dozens of recordings of play-by-play radio coverage. It's full-length fake minor league baseball games, and it's designed to help you go to sleep. And if you listen to it, it sounds very real.
This is the Manistee Eagles versus the Cadillac Cars.
Curveball misses low. 2-1.
Fake baseball for hours while you sleep the sleep of angels. It's great.
And I love this. This name probably won't mean anything to you, Steve, but Wally McCarthy is the baseball announcer's name.
Wally McCarthy, Lindell Olds.
Yeah.
Wow.
A car dealership.
Called strike 2.
Wow.
Listen to that.
I mean, this is, even amongst baseball calls, this is Northwoods Baseball Radio Network. Well, yeah, you get a baseball game or a golf going on a Saturday or Sunday for me. Good night, Irene.
Is the word laconic? Is that the right word that comes to mind?
He's got the Cadillac Cars and the South Haven Ravens, the Toma Tigers versus Manistee Eagles, Big Rapids Timbers versus the Baraboo Bombers.
I lived next door to a guy when I first moved to Atlanta and started a band. We all rented a house and the band would rehearse there. Our next door neighbor, we had a vacant lot to one side and a neighbor to the other side who was an old man of early 30s at the time. Great guy. His name was Bill, and he was really cool, and he was a big Atlanta Braves fan, and he sat on his front porch every night and listened on the radio to the Braves. He wouldn't put it on TV. He'd listen on the radio, and he would go through a case, 12-pack at least, of Miller High Life every game.
Sure.
He had one in the freezer and one in his hand, and then he'd put one in the freezer, and then so you always had one getting really cold while he drank, and he would keep score by hand. And he was a man in his young 30s.
Yeah.
And then I went over there one night, and I'm sitting with him, and we're drinking beer, and I'm like, he's just so into this.
Yeah.
And he's really getting more and more amped up. And then I realized, he's also a cocaine addict. Oh, okay. Then it all made perfect sense.
Yeah, that all dovetails together then,
By
doesn't
the way, I would have to have some stimulants to pull this one off. A pair of Houston Astro fans just did all 30 Major League ballparks. They went to every ballpark in the majors.
Nice.
Saw a full game in all 30.
Nice.
In 30 days.
30 days in a row, all 30
days. 30 days, 30 ballparks.
Wow.
Began with a Miami Marlins game on May 17th, and they just finished on Sunday at their home field, Minute Maid Park in Houston. They wore Astros jerseys to every game and added an iron-on patch representing each stop.
Jeez.
They made all 30 ballparks, one a day for 30 days, and saw that's astounding.
And sounds spendy as hell, but yeah.
It sounds spendy.
That's, hey, we got a bunch of dough. What do you want to do? I don't know, 30 ballparks in 30 days? Go.
Yeah, I
sounds
love
like a movie, doesn't it?
It sounds great on paper.
I bet at the end of those 30 days, I don't ever want to go to another baseball game again.
No. If I did 30 ballparks in 30 days, I would put on 30 pounds.
Yeah, right.
I think that's a given.
Yeah.
But that's a hell of an effort right there. Let's look back. How about this? On this day in 2000, Tiger Woods wrapped up the U.S. Open at Pebble Beach by obliterating the field. He hit on his final 9 holes 4 birdies. He won the Open by 15 strokes.
Yeah.
My son's 23, and he's a golfer, and we will probably once a year, he'll be like, hold on, he did what now? He just goes down a Tiger Woods rabbit hole, and I'm like, dude, there's no way to describe it.
At Pebble.
There will never be another golfer that's this dominant as Tiger Woods was from 97 to 2009. It's just not going to happen again.
A couple of friends, I'm thinking of one in particular time. Actually, he's ruining golf. He's so dominant, it's not even a game.
Please.
It's not even worth watching anymore. People are going to quit watching. I don't think they quit watching, Tiger.
No, they did not.
In fact, if you want to follow him around a little less during those first 2 rounds before he makes the cut, that'd be okay with me. I would like to see Scheffler play a little bit. I'm just watching all Tiger out there limp around. But yeah, one of a kind. One of one.
Get the KQ Morning Show podcast wherever you listen. 92 KQRS.